Bearshaw's hiker of Ravine. Experienced hiker dies after being pushed 2,600 feet down ravine by brown bear in Greece. An experienced hiker tragically lost his life after being shoved off a steep 2,600-foot ravine by a giant brown bear in central Macedonia, Greece. He and his fellow veteran were exploring a dense forest on Monday, attempting to chart a safe path for visitors to see the remains of the Greek warplane that crashed there 70 years ago. Now let's take a deep dive into this story on the AI podcast.
What is it that drives us to explore? That urge to find something hidden, maybe be a piece of history or just some unique natural spot. It's a powerful pull.
Incredibly strong.
But what happens when that drive, maybe for discovery or maybe just for daily survival, puts us right in the path of the wild's unpredictable power?
Yeah.
Today, we're diving deep into two really harrowing encounters. Situations where human worlds and wild animals, specifically bears in these cases, inevitably overlapped. It's quite a sobering reminder that sometimes the wild doesn't just tolerate us, it really pushes back. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. And for this deep dive, we've looked at source material detailing two very recent and, frankly, incredibly disturbing incidents. One took place in Greece, the other in India.
Two different continents, similar themes, though.
Exactly. And both really illustrate the often unpredictable nature of venturing into wild habitats. So our mission here is to pull out the key insights from these accounts. We're focusing on exactly what happened, what the experts are saying about the animal behavior involved, and maybe the bigger questions these tragedies force us to ask. Questions about human safety, about wildlife conservation.
It's a difficult balance.
It really is. These stories, they're a stark reminder of the wild's raw power and maybe our, often fragile place within it.
Okay, let's start in Greece then, with this tragic pursuit of history. Our sources talk about Christos Stavrounides, known as a dedicated Greek hiking enthusiast, and he was with his companion Dimitris Kouroglou. And the setting for this is the densely forested mountains of central Macedonia. Beautiful area, but definitely wild.
Right. And they weren't just hiking aimlessly.
No, they had a very specific mission. They were actually trying to chart an accessible trail to find a 70-year-old Greek warplane wreckage, apparently nearly intact.
Wow.
Christos had found it the year before, and he believed it was this treasure of nature and history, something that deserved to be seen but preserved out there, in its remote spot.
A passion project, really, but one with inherent risks in that kind of terrain.
Exactly. And their journey, it just took a devastating turn. A sudden fatal encounter with what Dimitris described as a massive brown bear.
Yeah, Dimitris, he recounted the whole harrowing experience to Greece's national broadcaster, TV, ERT. It sounds terrifying. He said the bear just charged them.
Out of nowhere.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Dimitris' dog apparently jumped in, intervened briefly.
Gave him a second.
Yeah, maybe bought him just enough time to deploy pepper spray. And initially, that seemed to work. It seemed to ward off the bear.
Oh, thank goodness, but
then the bear turned its attention to Christos. And the report says Christos had run out of bear spray at that point.
oh no.
Dimitris' quote about it is just chilling. He said, "I've never seen such speed and strength before."
Well, can only imagine.
He described the bear knocking Christos off balance, essentially pushing him into a ravine.
Pushing him, not mauling.
That's the description.
Yeah.
Pushing him. And the fall was catastrophic. Nearly 800 meters. That's about, 2,600 feet?
Unbelievable. Just pushed him off an edge.
Tragically, yeah. Christos was found at the bottom, rushed to Kavala General Hospital, but pronounced dead.
So the bear didn't actually, attack him directly in the way we might picture. It pushed him. What does that mean in terms of bear behavior?
That's the crucial point experts are making. Arkuros, which is a Greek wildlife protection organization, weighed in.
Okay.
They clarified that the bear's actions, based on the account, were consistent with defensive behavior, not an outright predatory attack.
Defensive, how so?
Well, a spokesman put it quite simply. The bear is trying to push back what it sees as a threat. So it wasn't hunting them. It likely felt surprised, cornered, maybe threatened by their presence, possibly the dog.
And its reaction was to create space, forcefully.
Exactly. To neutralize the perceived threat by removing it is a really important distinction. It tells us something about the bear's motivation.
Right, and it's useful context to remember that brown bears in Greece, they're a protected species, aren't they?
They are. The population is estimated at maybe around 450 individuals, mostly in the western Rhodopes and the northern and central Pindos regions.
So not a huge population. Encounters are probably rare, but significant when they happen.
Very significant. And this incident definitely fuels the ongoing concern about the overlap between wildlife habitats and, increasing human recreational activities. It raises big questions about hiker safety protocols and conservation policies.
You need to protect the bears, but also keep people safe. It's a tough line to walk.
It is. And Greek authorities are expected to review this specific incident, look into measures maybe to improve hiker safety while still balancing that need to protect endangered wildlife.
Okay, so that's the tragedy in Greece driven by exploration, ending in a defensive encounter. Now let's shift focus because there was another stark warning, this one from earlier this year, January, in India.
Yeah, this one is equally harrowing, but perhaps illustrates different facets of human-wildlife conflict.
What happened there?
This was a fatal attack in the Kanker district of Chhattisgarh, which is a densely forested region in central India. It involved a father and son, Suklal Daro, 45 years old, and his son, Aju Koreti, who was 22.
And why were they in the forest? Not exploring for wreckage, presumably?
No, they were doing something much more common, a daily activity for many people there, just collecting firewood.
A routine task, then? And the animal involved?
A sloth bear.
Ah, okay. Different species, known for different temperament.
Very different, generally speaking.
Yeah.
The assault was described as brutal. The outcome was tragic. Both men died from their injuries.
Both of them.
Yes. Suklal Daro died while being rushed to the hospital, and his son, Aju Koreti, reportedly died right there on the spot.
That sounds incredibly violent, more like a sustained attack.
It seems so. And adding to the horror, a forest officer actually tried to intervene.
Someone tried to help.
Yes, but he was also severely injured. The reports say the enraged bear attempted to crush him. Just a terrifying scene.
Good grief. That sounds very different from the bear in Greece pushing someone away.
It does. And there's a chilling detail mentioned in the sources from video footage taken nearby. A bystander can apparently be heard shouting, "Don't run away,"
Yeah.
just moments before the bear charged off into the woods, seemingly to continue its attack or escape.
Don't run away. Maybe trying to warn others, or maybe directed at the victims. Hard to say, but it paints a picture of sheer panic and aggression.
Absolutely. It suggests an intense, prolonged, and highly aggressive encounter. Sloth bears, unlike many brown bears or black bears, do have a reputation, unfortunately, for being more unpredictable and potentially more aggressive if they feel threatened, especially if surprised at close quarters, like in dense forests collecting firewood.
Their reaction isn't always to flee.
Sometimes it is, but they seem more prone to actively engage what they perceive as a threat. It can lead to these really devastating, prolonged attacks, not just a push, but a full-on assault.
So two incredibly harrowing incidents, Greece and India. Different bears, different reasons for being there, but both ending in tragedy. They really serve as these powerful reminders, don't they, of the unpredictable danger when we venture into wild animal habitats.
Absolutely. The wild is, well, exactly that wild.
Yeah.
And that reality, I think, broadens the discussion, pushes us toward the bigger implications.
Like what?
Well, questions about preparedness, right? About having the right safety equipment. Bear spray seemed crucial in Greece. Tragically, running out was a factor.
And knowing how to use it, when to use it.
Exactly. And just general awareness. Being
Yeah.
aware when you're entering areas known to be populated by bears or other potentially dangerous wildlife.
So what's the real takeaway here, the nugget, from looking at both these terrible stories?
I think maybe the core nugget is this. When we step into their world, into the wild, the most vital piece of safety gear isn't just what's in our backpack. It's the knowledge we have in our head.
Knowledge is gear. I like that.
Yeah. Understanding why a brown bear might push back defensively, like in Greece, or knowing how a sloth bear might react differently, more aggressively, like in India.
Yeah.
That understanding shifts us, doesn't it, from being maybe unprepared intruders to more informed cohabitants, even if temporary.
It gives you a better chance to react appropriately or maybe avoid the conflict altogether.
Precisely. That knowledge, that awareness is our most fundamental protection, I'd argue.
That point about knowledge is really compelling, but, you have to ask, is it always enough? I mean, look at these stories. Sometimes they're just unexpected encounters, right? Situations where maybe even all the gear and all the knowledge, it just can't prevent tragedy.
That's the harsh reality, too. There are no guarantees in the wild. Things can happen incredibly fast.
Yeah. So whether you listening are an avid hiker, maybe a curious explorer, or, simply someone who appreciates the wild from afar, these stories, they offer some really crucial, if difficult, lessons. Lessons about respecting boundaries, understanding the risks involved, and as we circle back to that idea we started with, that allure of exploration, of discovery, finding that plane wreck, or even just gathering essential resources like firewood, it's clear, isn't it? The drive is strong, but nature's power, its immense power, demands our profound and constant respect.
It really does. Which leads us to maybe the fundamental question these incidents raise.
Go on.
Well, in a world that's increasingly dominated by humans, as our activities keep expanding further into wilderness areas, how do we do it? How do we ethically and safely coexist with powerful, often protected species like bears? What responsibility do we have as individuals heading out there, but also as a society? What's our role in mitigating these risks?
Yeah.
Not just for our own safety, but crucially for the animals themselves, the ones we often seek to understand or even claim to protect.
That's a heavy question. How do we share the planet safely and ethically? Something important for all of us to ponder, I think, that delicate balance between our human curiosity, our conservation efforts, and just the inherent, beautiful, sometimes dangerous wild.
Was the bear's behavior truly defensive, or is there is a rising trend in aggressive encounters? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.